up, but we're going to start with William Cunningham, who is representing himself.
Well, good morning. Is this thing on? Outstanding. So I'm Bill Cunningham. I'm actually here representing Creative Investment Research, which is a company I've run for about 25 years. If you want to follow along with my comments, go to creativeinvest.com/oz.pdf. creativeinvest.com/oz.pdf is where this presentation is. Now, I'm going to talk about, I testified at the first hearing that you had. Thank you very much for doing that. By the way, I know this is hard work. I really do. Dealing with the public. I deal with the public all the time. Public is tough to deal with these days, you know. So I appreciate your efforts in this area, especially with a program as important as this. Now, as you know, our concerns are that the Opportunity Zone program seems to allow people with significant capital gains a way to escape their responsibility for paying taxes. And it allows mainly white and wealthy taxpayers to avoid their social responsibility in exchange for investments via qualified opportunity funds in 8,700 poor communities, mainly Black and Hispanic communities. So our economic analysis leads us to believe that the program is fundamentally unfair and fiscally unsound. We conducted a survey on the Opportunity Zone program to ask a couple of questions. We wanted to find out if people thought that the Opportunity Zone program favored the wealthy, favored the poor, or was neutral. Based on our survey, 44.74% of the people that responded thought that the program favored the wealthy, 5.26% concluded that the program favored the poor, and 50% actually indicated that they thought the program was neutral. Now, in terms of the impact, the social impact, what we do is we create impact investments. That's what we've been doing for the past 25 years. And in terms of the impact, projected impact of the Opportunity Zone on communities, according to our survey, 68.42% of the people that responded thought that the Opportunity Zone program would increase gentrification, 10.53% thought that it would decrease gentrification, and 21.05% thought that the program would have no effect on gentrification in those 8,700 communities. Now, as we testified last time, part of the issue is that the assumptions concerning the Opportunity Zone program are very much like the assumptions that we see being utilized to justify programs that take economic resources out of Black and brown communities. We've seen this most recently with the new introduction of a cryptocurrency called Libra. Facebook is positioning this currency as something that they're going to use to provide banking services to 1.7 billion. Now, look, it's about shareholder wealth maximization. It's about control. So it is with the Opportunity Zone program. Marketed as a program that's going to bring economic development to Black and brown communities, we know based on the history of other programs like the New Market Tax Credit Program, like the CRA programs, we know that these programs have a tendency to reduce economic opportunity for Black and brown people that were resident in those geographic areas prior to the introduction of these programs. If you don't believe me, look at 14th Street Northwest, Washington, D.C. That's all you have to do. So we're concerned about the negative externalities that a program like this will impose on Black and brown people in the 8,700 communities. Now, we also know that a program like this diverts needed tax revenue from public programs to private purposes. We know that in places like California, there's a massive need for investment in infrastructure to deal with climate change. We know that in Illinois, there's a need for police and community development in minority communities. Taking money away from the federal treasury will not help these regions provide the services that those communities need. We know that in the state of Texas, There's a massive need for integrating new populations into the state. And we know that in New York, there are infrastructure and social needs that are critical, especially in light of the reversal of certain private companies from coming into certain parts of the state. I'm talking about Amazon. Now, our suggestions are twofold. The first is, and I understand this may be something that you cannot regulate, but our first suggestion would be that you be very clear that there's to be no benefit to the president, to senators, to congressmen, to state governors, and to others who had a hand in selecting those 8,700 communities. No benefit personally from investments that they hold in those communities. The second recommendation that we made was that you use something called Ethereum, the Ethereum blockchain. Blockchain technology is basically a distributed public database that is hard to manipulate, that you basically use this new technology to report on opportunity zone investment social impact. And we've outlined an impact measurement strategy that would basically allow you to collect and analyze impact data, to evaluate the data, and then to possibly, and again, this is beyond your capability, but what we would like to see is we would like to see the social impact data used to calibrate the tax credit. You want to put a liquor store in Anacostia using the Opportunity Zone tax credit. The rules say that these types of sin businesses are not allowed. But we know that the second tranche of the regulations actually provide a safe harbor where there are going to be companies that utilize, that are able to put in sin businesses in Opportunity Zone communities. If you don't believe me, there was an Opportunity Zone podcast that I'm happy to send you that outlined exactly how that would work. So what we'd like to see is we'd like to see the Opportunity Zone tax credit calibrated to the social impact of the business. So that if you put affordable housing in Anacostia, you should get the entire tax credit, no question about it. You put a liquor store in Anacostia, you should get 5% of the tax credit. Some type of calibration that measures social impact and reduces or increases the tax benefit accordingly. Now again, complicated, hard to do, but we know that there are certain entities, Beak Center at Georgetown University, interest of full disclosure, I'm a member of the faculty at Georgetown. I have nothing to do with the Beak Center's social impact methodology as it relates to opportunity zones. But I'm simply pointing out that there is one. And it could be utilized to do exactly what I've just suggested in the interest of specificity, I guess. So those would be our main recommendations. If you look at the presentation, again, creativeinvest.com/oz.pdf. At the end of the presentation, you will see a social cost calculation mock-up. Oh, this thing is moving. I don't want to fall off the stage here. But you'll see a social cost mock-up that is basically our idea as to how you would take the social impact data from that Ethereum blockchain that we suggested and put it into a dashboard that anybody could utilize to see what the social impact of Opportunity Zone investments are. Now, this is something, again, I don't know how you would regulate that. I really don't, but I know that it's doable. I know that the technology that has been developed now allows you to do things which you could not do 20 years ago. And I'm suggesting you use it for this purpose. So I think that about covers my comments. Any questions? No, I'm just kidding. Thank you very much. I appreciate your time.
Thank you, Mr. Cunningham.